If I asked people what they thought about a rugged, compact EV SUV, they'd probably ask why. And I think that's a sane and rational response until you see this, the BYD Ti3. And suddenly your brain switches off and you find yourself thinking, dinky, chunky, me like, me want. I'm Will, and this is China Driven. That's not gonna work with Before we get ahead of ourselves, this is rugged in the idea of lifestyle fashion rather than really getting you out of a muddy situation on the side of the mountain. And BYD have gone straight for it, and they've cut their brand right down the middle. On the one hand, you have the likes of the BYD and BYD that we previously reviewed that are for people who want to properly off-road with body on frame, hydraulic suspension, locking differentials and a low range box. On the other side, you have the likes of the Ti7 and this, the Ti3, for those who want to look like they off-road while they dominate their shopping mall's multi-story car park with a unibody and four-wheel drive. But with its intelligent off-roading modes, to its credit, it's probably quite handy in a sticky situation, as long as you get one of the four-wheel drive models. So you might call it a dress-up off-roader or a mall crawler, but I don't think that BYD is wrong. For many, it's just about the style. Think Carhartt jacketed baristas, or more poignantly, that beer-bellied bloke down the pub wearing a Patagonia tee. Essentially, a Ti3 is like me wearing a Hawaiian shirt whilst I review cars. No, I'm not an 80s semi-insubordinate detective, but I look like a good time. But let me contradict myself a little bit. When you jump in and start driving this, there seems to be a feeling in your mind that this wasn't set up purely just to be a city runaround with some off-roading looks. And looks-wise, if you're into it, yeah, it looks the part. Plastic cladding all the way around to protect you from the brutality of door dings in car parks, and plastic wide fenders to ward off clashes with mopeds. It's adorably fun looking, toyish almost. It's like a caricature of the more serious BYD. It's basically mini-me. This is a city specialist at heart, but also a pumped-up weekend warrior. I love the boxy nose design and the bulges in the bodywork over the squarish wheel arches. This whole car is actually a fairly sensible shape to maximizing interior room. The rims, on the other hand, not the most inspiring, but I guess that they're for aero. And this little car is ready to go beyond the city. You get roof rails up top as standard, and surprisingly, for a family compact SUV, half decent ground clearance. Back here, this is not a spare wheel. The giveaway is that wheels are not square. This is essentially a locker for your car. You just press a button back here and it opens, and you can store your knickknacks back here, or maybe a charging cable. I'm not entirely sure what people would use this for, so tell me in the comments down below what you'd put in here. This is also the reason that this car looks a lot smaller than its 4.6 length may lead you to believe, because this locker is also included in that length. The actual car stops back here. And just like its bigger brother, the BYD, the Ti3 comes with a barn-style door back here. Now, as for trunk space, it's that big, because we don't have an official number with the seats up or seats down, probably because it is on the smaller side, but still very usable. There's also some storage underneath for things like cables. There's a sub back here, and on very top models, there is a 3-pin socket back here. But this car can still do V2L. You just have to use the freely included cable, plug into your charge port, and you've got a load of 3-pin sockets right here. But we do have an official number for the Ti3's frunk, and this actually shows an improvement in packaging with something like the Atto 3, which was on the E platform 3.0 and doesn't have a frunk at all, to this, the Ti3 that sits on the E platform 3.0 Evo Plus, and it does have a frunk. In fact, it has a very decently sized frunk. Believe it or not, this has a frunk that's 151 litres. That's actually 10 litres more than the Tesla Model S. Impressive. In China, the Ti3 starts at just over $19,000 for the rear-wheel drive Pro model and climbs all the way up to $23,500 for this top-of-the-range Ultra 4-wheel drive. Now, there is a drone version above that that adds a drone port to the roof for an extra $2,000, and whilst that is kind of a cool feature and a cool toy, I don't see them selling many of those. And remember that all trims of the Ti3, they're all pure EV, unlike the rest of the Fancheng brand, which are all hybrids. The wheel drive models come with a 65.3 kilowatt-hour LFP pack and 501 kilometers claimed range, while the four-wheel drive versions get a larger 72.9 kilowatt-hour pack. And with that larger battery capacity and an extra motor, it results in exactly the same range estimate of 501 kilometers. That's kind of strange, like Fancheng thought 501 kilometers, that will do.
That'll do, donkey. That'll do.
The rear-wheel drive is using a 400-volt platform, while the four-wheel drive versions use a higher 800-volt platform, meaning that charging speeds are also identical, 30 to 80% in 18 minutes. The rear-wheel drive comes with 160 kilowatts of power and 310 newton meters of torque, and that's good to accelerate from 0 to 100 in 7.9 seconds, suitably fast. However, for maximum giggles, this all-wheel drive has 310 kilowatts of power and 510 newton meters of torque, and that means it can go from a standstill to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.9 seconds. And it's quite funny doing it. It doesn't really feel like it has any purpose being as fast as it is. I think it's more the fact that it just has big torque to help off-roading, and because it has all that torque and all that power in an EV, it's easy for it to do a dash. Sorry to my worldwide viewers, I need a quick word with my European friends. This is the cockpit of a €16,500 EV. And why I'd stop short of calling this a premium interior compared to the recent Germans' plastic fantastic cockpits, this clubs it to death like a strong man wailing on a baby seal. It's not even comparable. This is the same clean, angular, squarish design that you'll find the more expensive BYD and BYD 5, albeit less leather. This is all faux leather and soft touch material, and while it might not fool you into believing it's real leather, it feels a lot better than the hard plastics that are dominating premium European cars nowadays. Look, this is not to the same standard as the BYD or BYD 5. There is daylight between them, but this is a $19,000 car, and you get soft touch everywhere you need it, and the same design language as those more expensive models in the brand. And if you have an Atto 3 or have been in an Atto 3, well, there's no comparison. I need a calculator to compute how many times better this is than that. Is it all roses, or am I wearing rose-tinted glasses? No, there's still elements of this interior that I'm not ecstatic about. Take these crystal buttons behind the shifter. It's the same problem as with the BYD 5. From afar, they look fine, but to the touch, they suck. They just feel like big lumps of cheap plastic. I really wish that BYD would replace these with metallic plastic toggles back here or something, because I do appreciate having physical buttons because not a touchscreen slave, but these just don't do it for me. Another small gripe I have is the in-car hot cold storage. Now it'll go -6 up to 50 degrees. My gripe with it is not the fact that it's quite small for kind of in-car fridges, but rather the position of it. You see, there's no access to it from behind, and this is also where I like to keep things like my license and documents, which I guess I still could do, but it might be weird handing the cop your license that's freezing to the touch because you're trying to call a drink alongside. However, there is a glove compartment, so swings and roundabouts. All right, let's talk screens in here. Now, center stage, you get a 15.6-inch central touchscreen on all models except for the lowest, which gets a smaller 12.8-inch screen. And you get an 8.8-inch digital instrument display behind the multifunction steering wheel. Now, on that top drone model, you also do get an additional heads-up display. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this whole menu system can be switched into English from factory. So if you're interested in importing this car or any Chinese car to where you live around the world, just contact me. Okay, in the center console here, you do get a maximum 50-watt induction phone charger here. The slot next to it isn't a phone charger, but it's nicely felted to put another phone. Behind that, you've got your gear selector. It's flanked and surrounded by all different kinds of buttons, automatic parking, parking sensors. There's even a scroll wheel that you can click to interact with your music, which I love. Now, yeah, behind them, the crystal buttons. Aesthetically, I like it. I like the whole kind of massive buttons around this center console. It gives it kind of a utilitarian feel. Just maybe next time, ditch the crystal buttons. Now, interestingly, on this top model, you get a kind of couple of extra things in this center console, and they're actually down the sides. Now, on one side, you can pop out a torch. It's a torch and also a lamp. That's pretty cool, you know, off-roading. You might need that when you go camping. And on the other side, you know, if you need some entertainment along the way, this is a microphone. You can sing your heart out. Something that is very prominent in Chinese EVs, as some people abroad have kind of commented on. Behind that, you got a couple of cup holders and then that storage there as well. Take a quick second to talk about the multi-function steering wheel, because although most cars have one, there's a few different things that have been crammed into this one. You've got things like being able to open your 360 camera, turn on the automatic off-road mode, as well as some kind of settings for your ADAS here. So, you know, the distance between you and the car in front, in your speed and things like that, changing the menu, and also a custom button over here. And over here, you know, kind of for media and phone calls, and another custom button as well. What's interesting about this is that there's two little scroll wheels down here. This one on the left changes your road modes from kind of normal, eco and sport, whilst this one changes your modes between different types of off-road in the four-wheel drive model. So you've got snow, sand, mud, mountain, and a nice and easy access there. There is like one weird thing about this, and that's the paddles, or I should say paddle, because there's only one. That's right, behind the steering wheel, there is just one paddle over here which turns on and off the NOA or the LCC ADAS. It just feels a bit lopsided. I just feel I would like another paddle on the other side, or failing that, I think that this one button that they've dedicated to a paddle could have found its place somewhere else on this multifunction wheel. On all models, except for the lowest, you get heat and ventilation in the front row. Now, for sound, for the lower trim models, you get an 8-speaker surround sound system, but on the higher trims like this, you get a 14-speaker Devale surround sound system with spatial audio. And if you get that top drone model I was talking about earlier, you also get an extra couple of headrest speakers as well. TLDR, it's a $19,000 car with a pretty decent interior. I'm a fan. Okay, so in the back of the Ti3, let's first talk about space. Knee room, I've got plenty of it, and I can easily fit my feet underneath the seat in front, which is pretty good, especially if you've got longer legs. For headroom, that sensible SUV shape is really coming into its own here. Plenty of headroom as well, even if you're much taller than me. I'm only 170 centimeters. In terms of things back here, not a lot. I mean, you've got 2 outlets for air, and you have a USB-C and a USB-A outlet as well. You do have, you know, an armrest, couple of cup holders, and you do get a little bit of adjustability on these seats, not a lot, and it is manual, but you can lean back just a little bit to give yourself, you know, a little bit more of a comfortable position, and you stretch out with your feet underneath the seats. It's really not bad for this kind of size vehicle. Oh, one thing I did forget to mention is this has a sunroof, which is opening and also has a shade as well, which is nice to see. Other than that, you know, the same kind of thing as the front, soft touch materials everywhere. You know, you've got these kind of like metallic like door handles, which is nice. X3 with its plastic crap. You know, some reading lights, grab handle, and some little hooks to hang things up. But yeah, nice and simple back here, loads of space. You can get into a decently comfortable position. When you jump in this and actually start driving it on the road, you get a sense that this unibody compact SUV has kind of been developed to be as off-roady as possible. Now, it's McPherson struts up front and a 5-link multi-link in the rear, and that all sounds pretty normal. But those front McPherson struts are actually double ball jointed McPherson struts. It's a modified version that allows for more articulation and suspension travel. Why? Well, in theory, it would help with off-roading. And I think if you couple that with the high ride and soft suspension, you get a feeling that Fancheng have really tried to get the most out of this platform for off-roading. Now, it's not going to be able to do what the BAO 5 and BAO 8 can do with their body-on-frame, hydraulic suspension, locking differentials, but I bet that this is an absolute ball of fun off-road. The Ti3 comes with multiple off-road modes, changing the suspension, steering and power delivery to better help on different surfaces. There's also little useful off-road info for the car like roll and pitch. And while I didn't get a chance to have fun away from the city tarmac, Fancheng Bao's winter testing footage shows that the Ti3 is no slouch when the road disappears. One of the standout winter tests for me has to be the one on a 60% gradient slope in the snow, climbing up it without a problem before coming to a complete stop and then setting off again with minimal wheel spin and minimal drama. Not bad. However, on the flip side, in certain situations around the city at higher speeds, with that high ride and soft suspension, it does give you a kind of body on frame feeling, meaning don't expect to be tearing around corners in this thing, although it is hilariously quick. Now, this has what Fancheng Bao BYD call God's Eye. It's their ADAS suite. This is God's Eye C. And basically what you get is 12 cameras, 5 milliwave radar, and 12 ultrasonic radar as the kind of sensing hardware in here. Now, this is the entry level of BYD's family ADAS system. So Ti3 can be equipped with ADAS. It does have NOA on certain roads. It's more for highways, elevated roads and ring roads like this. And it does a pretty decent job being able to change lanes itself, maintain its distance. So although this is not a FSD beta competitor, for the price of this car, I think you get a lot of ADAS capability. For the rest of the time in the city, you can rely on LCC, so there's going to be lane centering and keeping your distance with the car in front. And it'll be able to turn a little bit to the road, but don't expect it to make right-hand turns. It also has an auto park function, which is nothing new. Most cars nowadays have such a function. But what I love about this is that when you are choosing to park into a spot, you can choose whether or not you want it to park centrally or slightly to the left or right within inside the parking space. And trust me, in tight parking situations, that can come in absolute clutch. And as I come to a stop here, this has acoustic glass up front. There's a really good job of keeping this cabin nice and quiet. There's the noise of the outside as cars go by. And then the serenity of being inside. So I think it does a really, really good job of keeping that noise out. But in terms of pulling around the seat, this thing is comfortable. And these seats are super supportive. They've got nice big side bolsterings here. I guess it's for off-roading so you're not thrown around the car too much. But here, they fit me like a glove. And obviously, with this having softer suspension, it makes kind of unpleasant roads a pleasure to drive on. Now Ti3 does come with CDC, it's BYD's own unit, but this has been tuned by Fan Bao. And basically all it means is the dampeners will get harder when you go into sport mode or softer if you're in comfort mode. But in neither mode is this a hard ride. Yeah, I really like this. I don't need it in my life. Like, I literally have no reason to have such a car in my life. But I do kind of want one. Just not with this wrap. So we established for the price a tremendous effort on the interior, and looks wise, minus a dodgy wrap, this is like an adorable off-road puppy. And while not as serious an off-roader as its bigger brother, the Bao 5, I think for what it is, its capabilities will surprise most. Like me, I'm a fun-size adult with bulges in my bodywork, but just like the Ti3, in the right situations, I'm punching above expectations. Don't believe me?